Onegaishimasu. So just start with loosening. So just coming up and down. Finding a vertical. So. Shake. Good. Good. And really exploring the weight coming up into the toes and then sinking down into the heel. You can also rock back onto the heel, just lifting the toes up. So really explore rising, bringing the weight up and sinking down. Just really explore weight through the footwork, through the connection to the ground. Good. Good. Okay, front and back. Again, just really exploring how the weight can be transferred across the foot. So working still really in the heels and into the toes. Really kind of waving over the feet. Front and back. You can also play with this exercise. What we were doing, what we've done kind of so far is kind of moving the centers down the body. So if you think of the center of the head and the center of the chest, what you can do in this case is just work with the center of the body, and actually motivate from that point. So everything we were doing really in the weekend seminar, especially the work of Arian, working from the center. So motivating the movement from the center and out. But still connecting really to the ground. So the center directs, but the movements are sourced in the ground. So just exploring front and back. Good. Going side to side. Again, in this case, really allow the center to motivate again. Good. That's it. Just keep the arms heavy, like thick ropes. Good. That's it. In this case, try and separate a sideways movement from a rotating movement, just for really for specifics, or basically you're going to isolate direction. So play with really a sideways movement. And in this case, if you go to the feet, you're really working in the blades of the feet now. So from the inside to the outside blade. So really rolling this way. Good. Good. And then going to a rotation, keeping the arms loose. In this case, the tendency is to kind of have the arms very like sending them out. In this case, have the feeling actually that the arms are heavy and it's like they're glued to the body, and that it's the center that motivates the movement, and that kind of swings the arms out. So it's as if my feeling this is a bit like the arms are magnetic, like they're going to glue back to the center. So as soon as I'm not in movement, the arms are going to kind of swing back into the center of the body. So the movement's going to generate, the movement is going to generate the arms to move away from the center. So just have a sense of them being kind of glued and then kind of spinning out. Just play with the rotation. And again, if you go to the feet, just feel where you are in the feet, especially at the ends of the rotation. So when you're at the limits of the rotation, where are you in the feet? Just kind of pay attention to it. Good. Oh, okay, good. So then the next one, inside, outside, really kind of bringing all the directions together, but starting to really work on this kind of feeling, opening out, closing out. Again, start with small movements, coiling, and then start to open the movements out, opening the knee joint, really allowing the back to start to really bend and wave through the movement. Nice. That's it. Start to really increase it so that you can start to go into a front bend and a backwards bend. Front bend, backwards. Good. Start to really maximize the movement. Good. Good. And then as you go through the back bend, start to open the arms out. So you're gonna add a kind of weight to the, you're gonna add a load to the body, like stretching up and back. So this really stretches it, stretching up the front of the body, and then release it backwards. When you go down, allow the body to really curl, the head to relax, and the arms to really rest down. So you go from a really kind of strongly stretching front line, and then let the back really just release. So you're working in kind of, not really tension, but full extension, and then waving through into a really relaxed movement with the body. So when you're in the ground, totally kind of relax, especially the upper body. So you're going from extending the front line of the body to releasing everything. Good. 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 Keep going. That's it. Nice. Okay, good. So just got some kind of Kokyu work without the bucken to start with. You're just going to be square on with the feet. You're going to raise up with the body, kind of arc up with the body, with the breath, and then press it down. Okay, so you're going to kind of bring it up and press it down. In this case, just have the feeling, really, this links to the bucken work in the sense you want to raise from the ground, pressing from the feet, raising up through the center, and then cutting down with the body. So in the sense that the body work is the same feeling, but the handwork is different. So what you can do in this case is starting with the hands, really as if you've got a bokken. So kind of with the hands in a position where I've got the sword, and really with a sense of raising and cutting, really just as if I've got the bokken. And then what we can do is start to open the movements out. So the same feeling is just expanded into empty handwork. Okay, but really with a sense of the sword work in the handwork. And the thing that brings it together is the body work. So the body does exactly the same thing. It's just that the arms are finding their own natural sense of extension. So just kind of work in and out through the movement. This way. This way. That's it. Good. Keep going. So just exploring the Kokyu work. That's it. Okay. What you want to really focus on, sometimes it's a bit like there's a pin in the center of the hand, and what you're going to do is spiral through it. So I don't need to move the hand. So try and make a distinction in the Kokyu work, extension and spiraling and pushing out. So what I don't want to do is just push out with the arm. This is just kind of stretching out through the system. But what I want to do is really have a sense of spiraling and coiling. So without moving the hand, or without moving anything, I just pin the center of the hand, and what I can do is coil around it. Now, if you go to the old Daito Ryu stuff, they talk about aiki yagi and aiki sage, and now they talk about it's a very much a linear move, not linear. I can't think of the word. It's a bit like a pulley system. So it's a bit like a pulley. It's kind of a straight movement like this. So they do this kind of movement, this, and they do both directions, down and up. But in this case, in Aikido, what specifically we look for Kokyu, and in this case, is more of a spiral work. So really look for a sense of spiraling through the whole joint. So in this sense, it's not linear, kind of straight up down, but it's really a sense of spiraling through the joint. Spiraling through the joint. So just explore different positions. You can pin here. You can also take the wrist and just have a sense of coiling into it. Coiling through. So really have a sense of grabbing and then like coil through the whole system. So it's actually nothing to do with moving, and it's nothing to do with pushing out or pulling. It's just to do with coiling and spiraling. So I can access a spiral from anywhere without moving. In a sense, you're just trying to redirect the movement. And now this is subtle, try not to, even though we break down this is just handwork, try not to just isolate the hand. So this is just isolated. Have a sense that the whole body also goes with it. So the whole body's being moved. So one thing moves, everything moves. This is always kind of the case. So try again, motivate the movement now from the feet into the hips, and then express it through the handwork. So just explore different positions with the hands. Good. That's it. That's it. Yeah, good. That's it. That's good. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, now just to work with the feet together, what you're going to do is just take a hand me, so a kind of natural hand me like this, and you're just going to come in, roll from a neutral position, and just press in this way. Just do a few each side. Just really have a sense of pressing from the ground, and then coming in with the feet. So pressing from the back foot, from a neutral position with the arms, and then just come in this way, and then just release it back, sinking and pressing into the ground. Yeah, give it a try. So into a hand me, just moving in with the Kokyu. So there's also a kind of sense. I mean, I'm a little bit more of a weapons person, if I'm really honest. And for me, the Taijutsu is kind of strange. So my feeling in this is you can get lost in like what am I doing and what are the hands doing and what's my body doing. But if I think in terms of sword work and if I think in terms of weapon work, what I'm doing is just pressing a movement in. So if I can really link this to a feeling that I have in the sword work, this kind of sense, with the sword, this kind of sense, then I can really get I can get into this more, because I know a lot of people actually struggle with this. Is like, what am I really actually doing? What's the point in this case? So in a sense, what I'm doing is pressing a force through to the front, but really try and access this feeling that you have in the weapon work, where it's actually much more clearer what I'm doing with the hand work and actually with the body work. So what you want, just have a sense of calmness, really have a feeling of as if you've got a weapon, and then you press in. Now this feeling is easy to access when I have an object or something to do. When I don't have an object or anything to do, there's a kind of uncertainty in what I'm doing. But try and really have a sense, what you're actually doing is you're taking the weapon work, integrating it into the body work, so that the body becomes the weapon itself. That's a kind of karate kind of thing, but what you want is the whole body to do the movement of the Kokyu. So it's not just the hands pushing out, it's the whole body coming in and pressing through. And the hands just express that feeling, just as the bokken expresses the cut. So the hands are expressing the movement in this case. So try and access the the feeling of the sword work. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Hey. Good. Okay, so we go to a kind of Zengo, Kokyu movement. So what you're going to do now from a hanmi, you press in here. Now you go rotate this way and then press out. Yeah? Keep a sense of releasing and then extension. So compressing into the ground, pressing out. Releasing, compressing, pressing. Release, compress, and then press it forward. Yeah, so kind of Zengo Kokyu movement. So front and back. Give it a try. Front and back. Oh. Okay, so one thing you can also, oh, sorry, I'm gonna spotlight myself. Sorry about that.
You are.
There we go. Okay, so one thing you can think, we tend to think about again in terms of pushing. So pushing out. Now we taught to think about exerting a force out, but or you can also think in this in a way of a force coming into the system. Now in a lot of cases, if I explore, if I look at people's kokyu like in this kind of sense, it's actually very weak. And if a force was applied here, it would just collapse in. So sometimes we do this as a practice in the dojo as a kind of warm up. I can't really show it, but what you do is press into each other. This is like a push hands, but you do it with the extension. So you push in and press out, push in and press out. Now, if I'm pushed against it, my kokyu collapses, it collapses into the structure and into the center. Now, in a sense, what I don't want to do is do these kind of things. This is where my kokyu is actually, if I take it to its limits, being extended out through the system. Or if I do it here and I extend it out, it's actually being pushed out to the system this way. And what I want to do is just find the kokyu where it just completes into the arc. I can't take it any further, so it won't go any further. And if it's pushed, it won't collapse. So in a sense, try and have a sense, rather than pushing out this way, have a sense of something actually is going to come into the system. And what I do is don't collapse it, but I absorb through the center work, through this way. So just explore, in a sense, your own sense of structure. You've got to really be honest with yourself. If I'm in these kind of positions and I apply a force, the structure will collapse. If I'm in this kind of position and I apply force, the structure will collapse. But if I have a sense of connecting the shoulder work into the elbow with full extension, this won't go and it won't go anywhere. So it will just hold. So in this sense, you want a strong extension which doesn't collapse into the structure. Yeah, so just explore it a little bit with this idea. You can use this with resistance bands, or just get someone to push against you. Ideally, someone that's not an aikidoka, someone that's honest. So have them really push against you. Or you can do this against a tree also. So trees push back. So you want to have a sense of against a wall, pushing into it, so it doesn't collapse. If I'm honest, it will just, if I'm honest with myself, most of the time it will collapse. So just explore it, in a sense, coming into the system. This way. Actually, you can do it. You can grab yourself here, this way, and you can pull up, you can pull back. You've got to kind of split yourself. It's a bit schizophrenic, but you've got to pull and your arm, but you've got to really pull the arm. Okay, now if I do it in a way where I'm not being honest with myself, I can, yeah, really strong. This is super strong. It's going to hold. But if I really do it in the sense that I'm honest, I really pull, and I'm going to find all this tension here. The structure collapses. So really, really pull with the back arm. You've got to split your personality a little bit. Be horrible to yourself. You've got to go Jekyll and Hyde. Really, really pull it. I really have a sense that it's being tightly pulled, so the structure doesn't collapse. That's it. Good. Good, that's it. Ah, good. Super. Good. Okay. And try this kind of as a follow-up exercise. They would always do this with a partner, but what you're going to do is press in, and then you're going to allow it to receive back with the body. You're going to receive back without dropping the extension. So keep the extension all the way, roll back, and then press up out of the ground. Roll back, press up the ground. What I'm actually doing, what we don't talk about a lot in the Taijutsu is actually protecting my center line. So in the Ken work, it's actually very clear all the time. I'm holding my center line. I'm protecting it with the sword. So if you think about all the sword work we do, I'm always defending my own center line. And it's very rare that I only give it up in a way to create an opening. And we don't really look at this in the Taijutsu. We talk about it very rarely, but in a sense, I want to always keep the structure and protect my center line. And if I'm ever working in these kind of positions, or this, this is where I'm losing the center line. And because we don't do sparring, we don't find out that a lot of the time we're actually not protected. So really have a sense in this case of really holding the center line. So in a sense, you want the ukemi work to actually hold. I want to protect the center too. So I want to control the center line all the time. We don't really talk about this a lot, but so rolling, keeping the center. And then this movement obviously starts to come into kind of an Ikkyo position. But just focusing on the Kokyu, rising, receiving back with the whole body, and then pressing through with the whole body. Yeah, I just had this kind of sense. So rolling back, pressing in. Rolling back, pressing in. This is best done with a partner, but. Okay. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to give the backhand something to do. You're also the hands. What are we doing? And there's a slight bit of confusion. So, in a sense, you can always add an atemi. So if you're ever confused, especially with the empty-handed work, there should always be an atemi available. So in this case, the atemi's to the face very clearly. This is coming to the head. So even though this is an open hand kokyu, this is coming right to the head. So you can imagine in this case, this coming towards the head. So this is actually a kind of movement back and then here. This is actually, yeah, really coming towards the head. The backhand, what is it doing? In a sense, we always go and try and find the arm with the elbow. But what it's really doing is striking it underneath, from underneath. So what it's really doing in this case, this kind of movement, this coil, is a strike through the backhand. So just explore now with the front hand, this sense of striking up to the head, raising, and in a sense the backhand's going to follow it and come to here. Now this is a classic rib cage strike. So I'm going for the floating ribs, the bottom two floating ribs, and I want to break them with the hand this way. This is a classic setup for an ikkyo. So if you can get this setup on anyone, the ikkyo will be totally easy. And the idea with the strike, not necessarily to break the ribs, but to distort the structure. So if I can get here like this, you can try it on yourself. If you hit yourself in the floating ribs, it collapses the structure in a way that just totally leads into an ikkyo. It's perfect setup. So we usually omit this atemi in the training, but we should know it's there. So receive back and then striking forward. Receive back, striking forward. So go kind of in and out of the atemi work, but it should always be available. So it's not that we're doing anything different, we're just adding a sense of striking into it. But the kokyu work and the atemi work is the same. It's the same work. Give it a try. So just give the hand something to do. Oh. This way. That's it. Good. That's it. Good. Good. That's it. Hey. That's it. Good. Good. We'll explore some different footwork. So in this case, this is really like a shomanuchi work. Really have a sense now of like a katatedori. So being grabbed from the wrist, you're gonna slice out to the side. Okay, so really in a sense, this is another kokyu. So I think all the movements you do, they're gonna be permeated by kokyu spiraling work. So never just that the arm moves in a flat linear way, that you're gonna really coil through the through the arm and into the hand. So spiraling through this way. Now at the same time, you're gonna make the strike here. Okay, this is the classic uraken. So you come out now this way and come to the back. So this front hand spirals with the foot this way. As I adjust, find the strike. This is to the side of the head. So this. It all comes together. Out to the side, striking to the side of the head. The uraken is naturally going to whip back. So you strike and whip back. So in this case, this isn't a strike and then a hold. It's really a whip that comes back. Whip that comes back. And my aim is to get back onto the hand very quickly. So this is a distracting strike. This is not really a strike that's going to do a great deal of damage. And this is towards the eyes as well. Good. That's it. Okay, and one of the reasons that, I mean, if you look at there's a really incredible video with Saito Sensei doing a temiwaza. And he moves and he strikes. And every movement he does, he's striking. And these are the techniques. So all the techniques are this way. They're full of atemi. I know there's this quote from a sensei that says 99% atemi. That's what Aikido is. Or there's 90 or 70%. But 99% is right. So in a sense, the atemi were removed. A lot of the atemi were removed from the teaching because they stiffen the movement up or they become the focus. Now, in this case, if my focus is solely on the front hand and this hand does nothing, I don't take the person's balance. Okay, so, and if I strike them in a way like this without doing anything to disrupt the balance, you will be in a very bad position because the person will be, if you strike them, they will be just pissed off and they've trapped you in this position. So what you want to do is really move to this position here. And the strike is in a way to distract them. But the strike is not the focus in this case. So don't do nothing with this hand. Kind of leave it out this way. It's really gonna stretch them out this way. So this is really the kazushi is here. Without the kazushi with an atemi, this is pointless because you're gonna get into brawling work. So what you need to do in a sense is come out to the side this way. Get into a good position here. Yeah. So really focus now on maintaining the extension through the arm, and then the strike follows this way. So this way. So the priority in this case is the movement, and the strike is secondary as a distraction. Yeah. Give it a try. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's it. To really keep a sense of coiling out with the front arm. Yeah. Super. That's it. Good. Got it. Nice. Good. Nice. Good. Right. Another kind of grab. In this case, imagine you've got a two-handed grab, a marote. So in this case, there's the classic entry this way. You're going to coil, the elbow comes down, the hip comes in, and I rotate to the side of the person. Now from here with the front hand, I rotate all the way back and really find the extension this way, here. Okay, so this hand's going to coil in. This way I coil into the center line, and then bringing the center with me with extension, really explode out with the kokyu here. In this case, it's doing this, and then opening out this way. This way. So from the center line, coils out, and then rolls out this way. Right? Just kind of get a feel for this movement. So it's like a two-handed grab marote, rolling in, coiling into the spiral, and then exploding out this way, opening the hips out, and then rotating out this way. This way. Yeah, give this a try. I'll do it a few times so you can see. So you're gonna coil in like a marote dori, this way, coil out, and then press out this way. Okay, so you rotate into the spiral, into the center line. You take the center line, and then you take it away from the person. It's this way. Yeah, give it a try.
Yeah, so you're throwing them, they come this way, you throw them that way.
Yes, yeah, so if my partner's here in front of me, I coil in this way to face the same direction, and then I rotate back this way. And I take them off at an angle, and then my entry is going to be this way with the ikkyo. Awesome.
Sorry, Michael. So if this is partner work, will your partner be holding you in aihami or gakyuhami?
This is two-handed grip. So if you imagine I'm going to grab you like this way.
Oh, okay.
This is a two-handed grip. So you're going to use, I'll do a kind of rukemi for this. I'm going to grab like this. You rotate into it, and then your aim in this case is to draw me out of my balance this way. Draw me out this way. So the aim with this hand is to pull the person away from the balance. This way to open out. So you can imagine opening someone up this way. You're going to expose the rib.
I'm still going to be standing in front of you then, yeah? So if you're grabbing me now like this, moving in behind you, and then pushing away.
Yeah, this is quite, can you see me here? So what I do in this case is I rotate off the line this way, and then as I come this way, don't go this way, back into the line. I basically am here. The direction I'm going to go is this way. This way. That makes sense. So I'm going to basically take the center line, and then I'm going to keep it this way. In this case, I don't give it back. So I don't take it back along the center line. I take it away this way. So I'm taking it away from them and then collecting it here. This is actually always the case in the techniques. I move into the center line, I steal the center line, and then I take it with me. And by taking it with me, I take it away from the other person. That's the kind of That's the order. Order.
Okay,
Order.
thank you, Michael.
And the footwork, Michael, would be Gyaku hand me for the partner holding.
Gyaku, in this case, like a Marote.
Yeah, yeah.
And then coming in.
Yeah, footwork's Gyaku.
Good. Okay, one more thing to give the backhand something to do. There's a very clear another atemi in this one. So you coil in this way. Now, as you rotate and find the extension, this is really a strike here. So again, very similar to the one we did before. This, but you do it now during the rotation. So here, coiling back, extension, and here, striking in. So in this sense, this arm is opening the person out, spreading the rib cage, and then this gives you the strike into the ribs. Okay, so this is here. And again, this is really just to distort the person's structure to be able to take the ikkyo. So roll to the inside, collect the center line, and then roll out this way. With a strong sense of extension here. This way. Now give it a try. That's it. That's it. Good. So this is quite a hard spot. Actually, this is maybe it's difficult without the partner, but the tendency here is to close the extension off and then try and push through it with the arm. In this case, if you imagine basically with the extension, I never lose it. So from the very beginning, even though you're in these kind of positions, the sense of extension's never lost. Now, the moment I collapse the extension into the structure again, it's lost. So if someone collapses the structure in this way, this is where the technique fails. Now we let people get away with it, or we use force to overcome it. But in this case, what I want to do is really have a sense that the extension is full all the time, especially during this rotation, so that the extension stays full. Extension stays full. So really have a sense that when you go, it's flexible, but it's strongly extended. So there's really a sense of this. So when I first started Aikido, always this analogy was used of a water hose. So always full of water. Now, if I constrict the water hose, the water stops flowing, or it flows through with a trickle. So you want a sense all the time of water flowing through. So outside. So it's a two-way thing, inside, outside. It's not quite a water hose, but there's really a sense of rolling through, keeping the arm full, extended this way. Yeah, just a few more. Keep the spiral work, the extension work full. Yeah, like that, like that, like that, like that, like that.
Look at your palm.
The dancer.
Yeah, exactly, like this. This way also, yeah. Yeah, exactly, yeah, good, that's it. Now the freedom of this is like, also my opinion is we should do this a lot because we don't do enough solo body work. Now in a sense, if I don't have a partner, I can really explore the sense of the joint system, how the joint system moves. This is where Tai Chi has a massive advantage over us in that they train these as kata. So what you want to explore is this without someone resisting me, how can I move the joint efficiently in a way that I want to do it? And then with the partner, I use that as feedback to how do I find the freedom within the form this way. Okay, but we become very constricted by our own partners, and the partner's not a limit, the partner's as a feedback. It's not a kind of limiter on my movement. So in a sense, really just explore solo work this way.
Great.
Great. You're free, basically, is what I'm saying. You are free. No restrictions. Hey. Okay, good. So there's a ton of these entries. You can use the Munodori, these kind of way. You've got Ryotadori come in just out to the side this way. katate. You've got all these kind of entries that are to the front. We'll explore one to the back, but we'll just start with a very basic one. So in this case, imagine a partner's grabbing you both wrists from behind. This is a Shido waza, so rear attacks. They're going to be grabbing you like this, both hands to the back. Now what you want to do, in a sense, what they've got control of is one, the center, lifting you, and they've got control over the elbow joint. So if they apply any kind of force, they raise you off the ground, and they control the elbow joint. Now we do this always with a kind of neutral position where they're just holding. But in a sense, the movement is to control the center, take you out of the ground and control the elbow joints. Okay, so what you need to do in the first sense is find the extension, find my root into the ground, and then what I'm going to do is coil into the movement this way. Okay, so from here, you'll really have a sense of being grabbed, strongly extend into the ground. So find your root, opening the hands up, extending down, with a feeling as if water is draining from the fingertips. So all the way down into the ground, draining off, the spine's elongated, and then from here you're going to curl into the movement here. And now the arms, the forearms of the arms come into contact with the body this way. So really a sense of coiling into the body. Okay, just give this a try. So you're being grabbed from the back strongly, find the ground, extend through the spine, extend the fingertips, drain down the feeling, and then sink into the body this way. Curling in this way. Yeah, give this a try. Just the very first move. So this is like an Ushido waza, Kokyu work. Yeah, that's it. Really have a sense of pressing into the space behind you. So pressing in. That's it. That's it. Okay, good. Okay, so you're all kind of used to it. I think most of you are kind of used to this move. But where is the atemi in this? Where are the atemis?
Elbows.
Ah, elbow.
With the body?
Aha, exactly.
Kick.
Actually, there's a few. You've got a few options. If you ever spent any time in Scotland, there's a kind of Scottish headbutt. This is with the back of the head. You're gonna bring the back of the head into the move. So the back of my head is driving into the body. Now I don't do this. I don't do this work. Actually, Naoko's in Edinburgh. She knows. You've got this. You kind of come in with the back of the head. The other one, the other obvious one, with the footwork, is you're coming for the back. I'm gonna stamp onto the foot this way. Okay, I'm gonna come in. I'm either gonna find the foot and stamp into it, or I'm gonna find the shin. I'm gonna find the shin bone, and I'm gonna roll all the way down the shin bone this way. Okay? So that's my other attempt. So the footwork is in a sense this way. So in a sense, it's not kind of just sliding back, but I really have a sense of the whole body entering back. So in a sense, even though this is Shido waza, my feeling is still to enter to the space behind me. So I've still got a sense of irimi. Even though my body's facing behind, but it's really got a sense of still frontal. So my feeling is to open the back out and then really roll into it. But actually, John's actually right in a sense that the whole body does the atemi. So in a sense, later, what I do with the hips is drive the hips into the person's body. So I drive them into the body this way, that way. So the whole body in this case does become the strike. But you also have options with the feet. You can slam into the foot, or you can headbutt them with the head, back of your head. Yeah, both very effective. Just more the movement. But what this will do is kind of open up the back, open up the movement, really like you're pushing into the space behind you. Yeah, that's it. Whatever movement you make, atemi should always be available. And actually, the elbow is the one that's not available. Now, if you think about it, in this case, the elbow is the thing that's being controlled through the wrist. But if I go to the elbow work to try and make a strike, actually, that's where I'm controlled. So I actually can't, if someone's grabbing me very strongly, I can't make the elbow work. Which isn't true if they've got the collar. Then I go for the elbow work this way. But in this case, actually, the elbows are being controlled. The thing that's not are the feet, the head, and the hips. So just try a few more. That's it. Okay, good. You wrote the movement. And now, just to explore again Kokyu work, In a sense, both hands are being grabbed. Assuming you've not stood on the shin, head-butted them, they're probably still controlling you. So in this sense, what you want to do is curl into the movement, and then from the front foot curling out, you're going to turn full 180 degrees into the person. So you're going to coil from the back, coil into the movement, and then here rolling out from the front foot, coiling and opening the movement out here. Yeah, in this case, really use the knees, the lower body. So you're going to coil into the movement, coil out, really with a sense of both kokyu, because in this case, both hands are being grabbed. Really use them for the movement this way. So coiling out. Do a full 180 degree turn. That's it. Okay, and in this case, really have a sense of trying to spiral underneath the person. But what you're doing is spiraling this arm. If you imagine this arm is coming out from the person here, what I'm doing is coiling the whole body underneath that arm. So what I'm doing is going into. If you imagine what you're doing, always in Aikido, what we do is go into the grips. We extend into the grip, and then we manipulate the grip in a way where it's weak. So in this case, the weakness in the grip is this way. So the grip's strong forward and strong back, but there's a big gap in the movement this way. So the shoulder's just naturally weak this way. So in a sense, what you're doing is rolling into the person's grip and then opening this movement out here. And in a sense, the body is being shifted underneath here. So what you want to do is the feeling of rolling, coiling into the grip, and then here, coiling underneath it this way. So coil in and then spiral out through the groundwork here. This way. So really coil in, coil underneath. Really use the ground in this case. So it's actually all the legs. It's actually all leg work this way. And it's that the arms just express the spiral. But I can actually do this without the kokyu. So you can actually escape this grip with no sense of kokyu. If you get the body work correct, you can escape without it. Yeah. That's it. Okay, so let's explore this a little bit. In terms of the Kinanagari form, what's going to happen is you can't just attack the person from the back. So no one's going to kind of walk around you and just kind of grab you in the back. This won't ever happen unless you're kind of just totally surprised from the back and they grab. In this case, what you do is create an attack here, and then I come around and take the arm this way. So in a sense, what's happening with the attack is a movement here, and then a grab down. So the grab is going to be taken from the front, and then they come around to grab. So in a sense, with the Kinanagari form, it's very similar to what we did at the beginning, this sense of receiving and then coiling out this way. This is very frontal, so coiling in and then coiling out. In a sense, what you want to do here, you protect yourself here, and then I coil straight forward into it. Okay? So in a sense, what's happening is this is coming out to protect myself, and then I maintain the extension and I shift the whole body through it. So I go underneath my own extension this way. So just explore this as a movement. It's really nice as a movement. This comes up to protect, and then I coil underneath it with the body. So from the crown of the head, the body's going to spiral here forward. And this way. Yeah? So imagine the strike comes towards the head, I protect, and then I coil back into it. Coil back into it. Coil into it. Yeah, give it a try. Aha. Ah. Okay, so just watch the hand, allow the handwork to lead the body. So it's a little bit of confusion where I'm going and what I'm doing. In this case, follow the front hand. So it protects, and then what you do is roll this way through it. Yeah, we do this movement all the time. Just practice this handwork. It raises and then coils this way. Raises and coils. This movement pattern of using the arm is all the way through the system. So especially in terms of yokomenuchi work, this and this. So this follows this. This follows this. So really have a sense of coiling through the joint system this way. This. So just get this movement forward first. This, and then coiling through. This is like swimming. So you swim through the arm this way. So I use the arm to make a path for the body this way. This way. This way. Just try and get a sense of that with the arm. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Good. Okay, good. And then the last couple of minutes, just explore all of them or explore other options. So if you know all these other kind of techniques, there's basically 6 major grabs, and then there's all these Shido waza. So you can explore any of them, but don't worry so much about where you move. Just think about how I'm moving. So in a sense, if you keep the basic structure that from the ground into the hips, into the hands, using the sense of extension kokyu, wherever I move, if I use this structure or this order, I will find kokyu and I will find techniques. So they might not necessarily be right for the ikkyo or any other kind of technique, but they'll be right for some kind of setup. So if I'm using this structure, it will always kind of produce, technique. So just coil through the system and just explore a sense of kokyu through the joints. Always using the same basic setup, coiling through the extension, maintaining this free extended joint system. Just explore. If you know different techniques, different entries from grabs, just explore them. But basically wherever you move, you will produce kokyu spirals. Just follow this kind of pattern. In a sense, the Ikkyo is the easiest because it involves both hands creating strong Kokyu spirals. That's good. Good. And one point, if you ever get lost in this kind of training, also at the beginning, like think really in terms of weapon work. So all the kind of techniques, actually the structure or this method of using the body comes totally from sword work. So the principle which underlined the Taijutsu work is total sword work movement. So if I go back to sticking in terms of sword work slicing, sword work cutting, this kind of way of moving the body in a way that I would use the sword, then the techniques again will bubble out of it or will coil out. So if you get lost in this kind of practice, in the sense like what the hands are doing and what this is doing, just go back to simple basic. So simple basic Taijutsu coming from sword work, and then open it out, open out the movement. So think in terms of sword work movements, and then think in terms of opening it out for the hand this way. And all the techniques come from this to this to this. All the Taijutsu work comes from that. Yeah. So just a few more, just to finish. But go back to sword work and then open it out. Sword work, open it out. Awesome. Great. Awesome. Nice. Good. Nice. Okay, great, good. So this for me is the kind of, you could actually spend all this time, all the time we've got is kind of unknown. Maybe we've got a lot longer than we hope, but you can actually all this time just on sword work. That would actually be my preference, is just spend all the time on sword work, weapon work, suburi, and forget the Taijutsu entirely in a way, because that's relational practice that I can't ever really simulate. But what I can do if I can just train the sword work and the weapon work is really access the principles with which the system is kind of at its core designed from. So in a sense, we're training some of the Taijutsu work, but my feeling is that the more time we spend in the weapon work, especially the suburi work, then the more impact this will have on the solo work. So in terms of relational practice, we cannot simulate it online or as a solo work. But then the other point is that if I don't train the solo work, empty-handed work, then I don't train it. So I need in a way to train it, but I need in a way to know that the basic fundamental principles of it are encoded in the suburi practice. So that's my kind of feeling. So rather than trying to simulate relational practice too much, my feeling is to stick within the core basic movements, because these are the principles which filter out to all of the system. So that's my feeling. Okay, good. We'll take a bow. So, okay. どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
So let's go.